Hey guys, so it's time to talk about SELinux, which stands for Security Enhanced Linux. And if you are working with Red Hat distributions or Rocky OS or CentOS or Alma Linux or any other RHEL-like system, most likely you already have noticed what SELinux is. Probably it caused you also a little bit of the issues. And overall, I think it's worth to talk about it a bit in this video. And as per usual, I'm going to be using the wiki page of our friends, the initMAX, who are also Zabbix partners. So all things good, right? And basically, there's already explanation, like in this article, we'll take the detailed look of fundamentals, blah, blah, blah. And where it is. So SELinux, Security Enhanced Linux, is a Linux security model that implements mandatory access control, MAC, unlike standard discretion access control, DAC, where users define permissions for their own files. And this is like the theory, right? But reality is like I have, that's Alma Linux 9 in my case, and I found out that when you're using Hetzner virtual machines, SELinux is actually disabled by default. And we're going to go through all of the different commands and copy paste them from the guide. But basically, if you have SELinux enabled and I don't remember what was the name, like enforcing, yeah, probably enforcing, it's very likely that your system, whenever you're trying to do something, it's actually not able to do. And I can give you some example with a Zabbix. Let's say if you have some just set up log monitoring item that should supposedly access some log file or whatever, and it just doesn't work because SELinux prevents Zabbix user, Zabbix agent, in this case, to access to this log file. And all of the bad things that are happening are written in the same log file all the times. It's var log audit, audit and audit.log. As here, you can see a lot of the stuff is happening, and just give me some minutes, you're going to understand what the hell is going on here. So about the commands that you're definitely going to need to work with SELinux. The first one is probably SA status, which just going to show you everything, all the configuration, the current configuration of SELinux on your system. And the status is enabled despite the fact that if I type get enforce, I get a permissive. So permissive is still enabled, right? It runs. The only thing is like, it still works and it catches everything that it doesn't want to allow, but it still allows it. It's going to write everything that's denied in this audit log, but it's still going to allow it to be executed on a system. So it's kind of like a, I don't know, dummy initializing type of SELinux, where you can check whether or not something will be denied if you will put it in the enforcing mode or not. And you can also see the mount, the root directory, policy name, current mode, and we can basically read through here. So enabled, the SELinux is active, enforcing, the policy is being enforced, and in our case, it's not enforcing, right? It's permissive. Yeah. And targeted, the standard targeting policy is in use. So Zabbix also has a package, Zabbix SELinux policy, and a couple of years ago, it was still not a thing. I remember in Zabbix 3.0, 3.2, 3.4, and something around that time back, there were a lot of issues from Zabbix users complaining that something doesn't work. Again, the same log monitoring items, perhaps some scripts that they're trying to execute on the systems. And always there was same problem, because back then, one of the top distributions that was used overall in the world and also for the Zabbix was CentOS, CentOS 7, yeah, and yeah, by default SELinux is enabled, and by default is going to cause you a lot of the trouble. So first thing first, we need to install Zabbix SELinux policy package, which is available in the same Zabbix repository, which I don't have right now. So I will go to the zabbix.com, click on and get Zabbix. Go to the Zabbix packages. Let's go with 7.0, Alma Linux 9. Yeah, everything is fine. And what we're going to do is just add a repository. So copy paste this line. That would be done. And then we can go back and DNF install Zabbix SELinux policy. So again, long story short, after a lot of Zabbix users having so many issues caused specifically by SELinux, after a long waiting and begging, Zabbix basically created a separate package which kind of lists all of the rules that can be applied for SELinux that are necessary for the Zabbix to run properly. But again, keep in mind that all of that is kind of for like default installation of the Zabbix without any adjustments, without any customizations. And even if you have this package installed, Zabbix SELinux policy, even then, whenever you will be trying to create something a little bit off the rails from the common stuff, it's probably not going to work. But don't worry, we're going to learn how to extend SELinux policy and how to work it overall. So temporary SELinux deactivation and set and force is like the most common thing that people do. Like right now, I already showed you, we have it in the permissive mode, right? And if I type set and force 1, then it's going to be enforcing. And you can do it back and forth. You don't need to restart. You don't need to anything because, again, the most important thing that SELinux is running all the time, and we're just changing its mode. Enforcing means that it is running and is going to prevent everything, and everything that's prevented going to be visible. Let me actually tail it. Var log audit.log. Yeah, so everything that here is going to be listed as denied is actually going to be prevented from being done on the system by SELinux. So if you need to quickly disable SELinux, if you have some issues and you are suspecting that perhaps it is happening because of SELinux, you can just turn it off, put it on in the permissive, and technically if the problem is with SELinux, then right now, after typing set enforce 0 and checking that, okay, get enforce actually returns permissive, everything should be fine. If it's not, then it's not the SELinux problem, 100%. So, yeah, the change is valid only until the system is restarted because the default settings are actually written in the config file, which is here. And to permanently disable SELinux, edit the etc SELinux config. Here is the config. Let me actually use the VI. That's more common for me. Here is the config file, and there are just two parameters. The SELinux type, which is targeted, the default one, targeted process are protected, and I would not recommend to change this. And SELinux config itself, it's like either enforcing or permissive, the same stuff that we're changing with set enforce 1 or set enforce 0, or disabled completely. And if you want to, like, I'm not going to be changing this on my system because it does require the reboot, and I don't want to spend so much time while recording the video. So you can change it to disabled and then reboot the system, but it's actually stuff happening in the background in the kernel, so that's why reboot is necessary, and it's very easy to break something or get a bit forward. So re-enabling SELinux and relabeling. And relabeling is the important part, because if you just disable it and restart the system and then you enable it and restart the system, it's very likely that the things will go south, and very likely you will not even be able to start the virtual machine anymore. We had a lot of these problems again many years ago, especially on the DigitalOcean virtual machines. I'm not sure if it's going to be the same on some other cloud providers, but it was observed in DO. So when you disabled SELinux and you did the restart and then you enabled it back and did the restart again, it very often caused some issues that you were not able to start the virtual machine, and it was basically bricked, right? There was no like hard restart or anything. I don't know, perhaps there were some chances how to fix it, but nevertheless, the easiest way was to just restart, recreate the virtual machine itself. So if you want to get it back to the enforcing, first set SELinux to the permissive, again, which means that it's working, but it's not denying everything, and then set the relabel. So touch this, well, basically copy paste, right? Create a file, .auto relabel, and reboot the system. So in the root directory, this process will apply the correct SELinux context. So during the new next reboot, a file's context refers to metadata that determines which SELinux rules apply to it. If relabeling does not occur, files such as etc password might have incorrect or missing context, which can lead to the issues like being unable to log in or just unable to boot the system till the moment when you can even attempt to log in. And after verifying that the permissive mode works as expected, you can switch to enforcing. First, update the configuration in etc SELinux config. So that's kind of if you want to cycle through disabled, enabled, right? But I actually would not recommend myself to do that. I would recommend to stick with SELinux. Nevertheless, just fix the policies, enable everything that you need to run, and have SELinux enforcing. It's definitely better and more secure. If you don't want to, for some reasons, just switch to permissive mode. I don't know why it would be necessary to completely disable it. Well, up to you. I myself would only do the permissive mode. So creating the custom SELinux policies, and this would be the case like when, like for the Zabbix, we downloaded a package. As I said, it contains all the basic stuff for us to be able to run the Zabbix, but as long as we do some custom stuff, it's still not gonna work. And I'm gonna show you the example. So if SELinux blocks an operation of the Zabbix server application, you get identified from the audit logs by running this. And I can do just quick here, copy paste. So right now nothing is blocked, primarily because it's because I don't even have a Zabbix server. But let's keep reading. Like example log entry, this error indicates that SELinux is preventing the Zabbix server from using the port 155, and remember the default one is 51, and actually the 51 is written in those Zabbix SELinux package that we already downloaded. So to replicate all of this, we're actually going to need to install Zabbix server, and we're also going to need to install the database and start the Zabbix server. So it's going to be quick. Yum install Zabbix server MySQL, and I'm also going to install MySQL server -yes, and this is going to take a couple of seconds. While this is running, I just wanted to thank all of the guys who are supporting this channel and the stuff that I made, and especially the Patreon, right? It's there's a lot of stuff for free. There's also free trial available for you guys for 7 days so that you can see everything and straightforward. Like there's not so much what was the word? Exclusive stuff in a Patreon. Basically, you can get everything here for free, but there are still some guys who are willing to give me $5 a month just for the support. So thank you guys for that. And when we have everything installed, let's start database, systemctl start mysqld, and should be up. Okay, then we can go in, and then it's just a matter of copy pasting some commands like create database. Then we need to create a user and choose a password for it. I'm gonna set the password to Zabbix, which is the most common thing to do. Grant all privilege, set global logbin trust, and then we can quit. Then we also need to install the package called Zabbix SQL scripts, because it's going to contain all the schema and all the stuff. Like this, -yes, that's going to be installed, and then we just need to extract all the schema files, default data, and put it in our newly created database. To do that, just copy paste this command, enter the password for the database that we just created, which was Zabbix, and we need to wait for a couple of seconds for the database to actually be created. And we're almost there. We almost have our Zabbix, and we can continue with SELinux stuff. So that is done. Basically, it means that we already have a database ready, and we can edit the Zabbix server config file because we need to put a DB password here. Wait. db password. There we go. And change. Oh my god, where did it go? DB password. There we go. And change DB password to Zabbix. That's our default what we set. And we can start systemctl start Zabbix server. I did some mistakes. We can check it by this unknown B password. I've made a typo. So again, etc zabbixserver.conf. Yeah, DB password, and try to start it again. This should be quick enough. Systemctl start Zabbix server. It's running. Let's check the log file. Zabbixserver.log, and Zabbix server is started. So it runs, and we can go back to our initMAX wiki and try if we see something in the audit log again. And my bet is that we will not see anything. Yeah, again, nothing, and nothing because, again, we have this default SELinux policy package. And if we want to see something in this audit log of SELinux, we actually need to make some configuration of the Zabbix that is not so common as the guys who are making the SELinux policy would expect. So we can go back to Zabbix server config file and just change the listen port. And the listen port is listed as, where is it? There we go, the first one. So listen port, the default is 10051, and we're going to change that to 55, 10055. Right quit. For all the changes to make effect, we need to restart systemctl restart Zabbix -server. What? Oh my god. Systemctl restart Zabbix server. Done. And we can again check the log file of the Zabbix server, and it's still running. It is listening on a different port, but because of the fact that it's listening on a different port, we are going to have the new denied entry in the Zabbix server. So basically, this would not work right now if we would have our SELinux in the enforcing mode, right? But we do see this line, and we do see that it's not working, which means that we can generate our custom SELinux policy by just doing some copy-paste stuff. And you need some packages to be able to do that, like install policy core utils, Python utils. And I think actually at least on Alma Linux, those are available right from the box. Yes, there are, like already installed. So the next stuff is create a policy for the Zabbix server and run this command. I'm going to tell you what it actually does. So we're searching for the Zabbix server string in the audit log. And remember that one showed that one denied entry, which appeared after we changed the listening port. And we're using the audit to allow utility to create a module, Zabbix server policy. And then it's going to be a little bit of roller coaster of different extensions. So long story short, do this. And right now in the root directory, there's this file appeared, Zabbix server policy.te. I don't actually, not sure what's the explanation of this extension, but SELinux policy module. Example content of the Zabbix server policy file, so you can open it. You can do it like this, and there we go. Module version 1.0, required type Zabbix-T, type unreserved port, and class TCP socket name bind, which is allowed. That's basically what we just created based on the audit log. So the file contains rules that allow the Zabbix server to use specific ports, the ones that are not reserved, and search directories containing the Kerberos key file, which is, I will get back to that a bit later. So the model requires access to the following: Kerberos key files, unreserved port, Zabbix server process, allows directory traversal, and allows binding to our TCP port, and allows Zabbix-T is allowed to access the directory containing the Kerberos key. Security note, this example also highlights a potential drawback of automatically generating rules, and this is something I was talking for a lot in the past years. Like a very long time ago, it was there were two basic answers that you would get from all sort of different people if you would experience some issues with SELinux, and if you would experience that with a Zabbix, then most likely you would ask in some community forums or everything. And either people would say just set it to permissive mode, what we have right now, which is fine for like your home setups, but it's definitely not fine for work-related stuff, for some production environments, because you're basically disabling something which is intended to secure your system. And obviously it's not good. Instead, you should rather know how to work with it, just to whitelist all the stuff that you are doing and continue to block possible harmful stuff. And the second option that people were suggesting is basically the same stuff, this command. Well, you just need to grep the audit log for the Zabbix server string, or even worse, grep it for denied, not for the Zabbix server, and use the audit follow utility to create the module for SELinux, which works. It will work. I will show you a bit later. It's gonna fix our problem. But the thing is that the main thing is that if there is something harmful happening with your Zabbix and someone is doing some sneaky stuff and trying to hack your system, whatever, and happily it was not happening because you had SELinux, then without paying attention on what your module is actually going to do, you can potentially whitelist all of that harmful stuff. So it is kind of like a bit paranoid, I guess, and a bit of min-maxing, because usually it's not going to be the case, but still keep in mind that if you are doing just this, just grepping the audit log for Zabbix server or for denied, there is a chance that without even knowing, you will whitelist something that you definitely should not whitelist. And to avoid that, just check the policy that you created and try to understand what it does. Like nowadays, when you have a ChatGPT and all of the other stuff, you can, I guess, just copy paste all this to the prompt and get explanation what this rule actually does. So when we understood that, we need to execute a couple of additional commands. So basically, we need to check model to change .te extension to the mod extension. And this also performs some sanity checks as far as I remember. So right now we have also the mod file. Then we can go back, and from the mod file, we need to create a pp file like this. Everything is happening quickly. Now we have Zabbix server policy.pp. And then it's time to import the Zabbix server policy file.pp. And this is going to take a couple of the seconds, but right now, any moment, any second, the new policy is actually imported. And check model -m compose the .t file to .model file, and SEModel package converts the module file to the policy package, and SEModel -e installs the generated policy package into the SELinux system. So that's kind of explanation of these commands. And verifying policy application, we can check whether or not it's actually listed. And yes, it is listed. So -l is just a list for all the models, and we can do just SEModel -l, and you can see there's quite a bunch of different stuff running on our system as SELinux policies, right? So to continue, to list SELinux policies, for example, those related to the Zabbix, we can run this, just grep for the Zabbix, and we were going to see 3 of them: Zabbix, Zabbix policy, and Zabbix server policy. So one we created ourselves using the audit log file, and the other ones probably come with Zabbix SELinux package that we installed in the beginning of this tutorial. Yeah, I know, it shows a bit more for me, but that's not a big problem. So if you want to see what rules are included in a specific SELinux module, as example Zabbix server policy, you can use the following approach, like make dir. Yeah, we can actually copy paste it and paste it here. And there we go. As an output, we have, we have a list of everything which is allowed in these rules. So you can kind of do research of what is happening. But that's, again, like going some extra mile. I don't know. I usually never did that myself. Extending an existing SELinux policy with a new rule, it's still possible, like every time something changes, because the fact that we just now set up everything doesn't mean that it's going to work always and forever. Although there is still a way how you can, it's kind of middle ground. Like you can run SELinux in a permissive mode for a specific process. So you can have it enforcing, but permissive for the Zabbix server. That's also an option. But again, like if someone will try to use your Zabbix to do some sneaky stuff on your system, then SELinux will not going to prevent that. So if you created a custom policy and time flies and it's time to change them, just create a new .t file and execute basically the same commands we did above, and there you go, right? It's gonna be ready. So SELinux automatically updates the existing policy with the new rules without requiring the original policy to be removed. How do you want to remove the SELinux policy? Just type SEModel -R and then the policy name that you want to remove. I'm not going to do that because that's obviously going to remove the policy that we just created, which allows our server to start. What else can we learn about SELinux? We can learn the fact that you can actually monitor SELinux with a Zabbix. Who would have thought so, right? So monitoring SELinux AVC denials and basically being aware when something happens, when something is being denied and something is written in the audit log about that. So these messages are logged into the audit log, var log audit.log. We'll specifically monitor these messages. How to do that? We can do just a copy paste. First, create a script that continuously monitors audit.log and filters out only AVC messages. So create a script, right? I will use the VI. Again, VI user local bin. So basically we created a file and then just copy paste the script itself. It's the bash script. So we're tailing the var log audit log and grepping for a regular expression AVC denied in, and putting all of the contents that we found in the new log file that we're creating ourselves, var log SELinux denials.log. So instead of having quite a lot of garbage in the audit log itself, which also going to write not only the stuff that is going to be denied, but also the stuff that is going to be allowed, we are grabbing only denied stuff and putting it into the separate log file. So script is here, then make sure that it is possible to execute it. We can start the script obviously using the systemd. I'm not sure if that's, well, it's pretty, right? Having a systemd and a service that the script is actually going to start as a service. And let me just copy paste it, everything here. Control exit, yes. So we created a systemd file and systemctl daemon reload. And systemctl enable and start SELinux denial. So that works. We can try systemctl status, which is the next command. And there we go. We basically created a service for the script that we just wrote this bash one-liner. And it's cool, right? But there's also some other ways how you can, I guess, organize that depending on some specifics, how you want to run it and what you want to see. Log rotation, always necessary whenever you're creating some new log files, because if you don't, then eventually you're gonna, I don't really like use nano. If you don't, eventually you're gonna notice that you run out of the disk space just because your log file doesn't rotate and you just keep pasting all of the stuff inside it. So we're gonna rotate it weekly. This configuration ensures weekly log rotation, retains 4 weeks of history, compresses the logs, and restarts the service after each rotation to ensure logging continues to the correct files. template, import, and requirements. To monitor SELinux using Zabbix, we have prepared a custom SELinux template that can be easily imported into your Zabbix server. So, which means that we actually need to install the Zabbix till the end, because right now I have only the Zabbix server. So, let's do that. Yum install Zabbix web MySQL -yes. I'm not sure if we have firewall on the system. We'll see. IPA. There we have our IP address. Let's try to open it. No, it's not gonna work. So, service firewall D stop. Not loaded. Get enforce. Permissive. Wait. No, we need much more stuff. Not only that. So let's go back to the Zabbix.com. Let's go back to the get Zabbix, Zabbix packages, 7.0, Alma Linux, everything like that. We need actually a lot of stuff. I don't know, I got a bit confused. We also need Apache config. Yeah, that's basically the only stuff, additional stuff that we need to run the front end. And obviously we also need the web engine itself that we need to start. DB password, systemctl, restart, httpdd, and phpfpm. So I can just do like this. And now, hopefully, yeah, there we go. So Zabbix 7.0, next. Everything is fine here. Next. Password is Zabbix for our database. Click next. Okay. Of course, subscribe. I hope I'm not gonna get hacked until I finish this video, and because that's a public virtual machine. So we have a Zabbix up and running. So requirements, Zabbix version 7.0 or higher. Zabbix agent, it is recommended to use Zabbix agent 2, required for systemd unit info and easier integration. To use log keys, the agent must run in active mode, active check. So we're still going to need to configure the agent on our system. And system with SELinux is example rel, Alma Linux, CentOS, Stream, Fedora. So we do have that. Agent must have access to the following files, usually allowed by default. So template can be downloaded from the repository. Let's open this. Let's go to the template 7.0 and save link as, download, save. Let's go back to Zabbix, then go to the not the data collection, data collection templates, and import a new template. Choose where you just put it. Don't think we need to change anything here, so click import. Yeah, I didn't save the template correctly, so go here and click download. This should do it better. Yeah, see, it's 6.2 kilobytes. So go back to here. Import a template, h1, import, there we go, and click import, there we go. So back to the tutorial, which is here. Template import, template is imported. After importing, link the template to a host with active communication enabled. This is required for processing logs using the log file. So first of all, we need to, okay, let's go to the hosts. Let's say we're going to use this. Now I create a new host. Host name, SELinux. I'm not sure. I'm just going to add the local host interface as well. I'm not going to add a template so far. Host group is going to be Linux server 127.0.0.1. And then I need to edit. Okay, the guide said that we need Zabbix agent 2, right? So yum install Zabbix agent 2. Typo. Yum install Zabbix agent 2. Yes. vi etc Zabbix agent 2.conf. And what we need, server parameter is already 127.0.0.1. That's fine. Server active is 127.0.0.1. That is fine. And the host name, we need to And the host name is something that we need to change. And we need to change it to the host that we actually just created. I think it was SELinux. We can double check. SELinux, yes, and systemctl start Zabbix agent 2. Systemctl stop Zabbix agent. I'm not going to use the Zabbix agent 1. So close this. Again, let's think. What do we have? After importing, link the template to a host with active communications enabled. This is done. So we just need to link the template. Go to the SELinux host, go to templates, and how is it named? Is it called SELinux? Yeah, SELinux. So update. That's that. And we have 4 items, sorry. I'm already a bit tired. That's a very long video, 36 minutes. I don't know what's wrong with me. We cannot execute it now because those are active checks, not the passive checks. You can execute now the passive checks. So just let's give it a second to run and then we can check again. Oh yeah, it's not going to work because we actually made a mistake. Remember, we changed the listening port of the Zabbix server, but the active agent is trying to connect to 100.51. So what we're going to do is change the port of the Zabbix server to the default one. Remove this, right quit, systemctl, restart Zabbix server. And I'm also going to restart the Zabbix agent 2. I think it forces it to connect to the server and request what it actually has to monitor. So now we can try to go to the monitoring latest data and again, wait for a couple of seconds for it to hopefully pick up the config and start the monitoring. Okay, and now we can see that it actually is working. So we have 4 items, and first of all, we're seeing the SELinux mode, the output of get enforce, and yeah, it's not enforcing, which is true. SELinux boot configuration is permissive. That's what you get when you run a virtual machine on a Hetzner cloud by default. And our audit-d service state is active. And this one, SELinux AVC denials, is empty, but basically it is monitoring this our newly created log file, which is populated by our newly created service, which checks for all of the denials in the audit log. And as soon as something will happen, right now it doesn't, like there are no new entries, but when it will, when denial is detected, the Zabbix will create a problem event, and the event is automatically closed if no further denials occur within 30 minutes. So this time interval can be adjusted using the macro trigger close time, either directly on the template or individually on host. So where is it? Let's go to the template, templates, SELinux, and here macro, there we go, trigger close time. So this trigger will automatically close after the value of this macro. So if you need to change it, feel free to change it here or on the host level itself. Each problem record includes the PID, process ID, and object type class in the title, making it easy to identify at a glance. Tags such as com, class, PID, and source are also attached to the event, allowing for efficient filtering, notification routing, and display in organized dashboard. So here it kind of what it looks like whenever something is denied by your SELinux. And I think that's it. We're going to wrap up here. That's one of the longest videos that I have in my channel. Let me know how it was. Like, if you got till the end, do you actually prefer like a bit of unfiltered long type content or not? Other than that, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, smash the like button, and see you in the next videos.